Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Don't Give Up Your Day Job, where I am talking about the fact that I have done that very thing. I have given up my day job as a teacher and I am pursuing a career as a TV writer. As you know from last week, I am just talking about what I've done this week to that end. And then I'm just going to pick on an aspect of writing based on what I've done that week to talk about that might be of interest to people who are also pursuing a writing career. So this week I've had my meeting with Yvonne, as always, and we've talked a little bit about the situation comedy that if you've seen the first episode, you know that's what I'm working on. And I have been given a list of 4 things to do this week. So I'm just going to talk through what I've done and talk a little bit about those things. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about guilt and time management, because that's what's come up this week. So we had our meeting on Wednesday, and then my last day at work as a teacher was on Friday. And I did not have a day of dewy-eyed children showering me with gifts, telling me what a wonderful teacher I was, shedding a tear and walking off into the distance. What I had was about 3 hours of clearing out teenagers' lockers because their last day, since we reopened in a socially distanced manner, was on the Thursday. And I did have a really lovely card from my year group, which was year 12. And I also had this very lovely, look at this very lovely key ring with a little elephant on the end from one of my students, which there was a little tear there, but that was on the Thursday. My last day was on the Friday, and that was mask, gloves, and nothing to do with the virus, just to do with what teenagers keep in their lockers. And then at lunchtime, I went to the pub. So that was my last day in teaching. So then we got to work, or I got to work. Yesterday, it's now Sunday, so on Saturday I was going to make this podcast yesterday, but I thought no, I will get some writing done before I talk about writing, because I can talk about writing until I'm blue in the face. Meanwhile, I'm procrastinating and not actually getting any writing done. So the 4 things that I set out to do this week were work on the logline. Now, log lines are something that there's some quite prescriptive templates out there about how you do them. Some of them are literally very, very short, like you've got to get them into a sentence. You've got to kind of encapsulate everything that is in your script into a sentence. Others say, you know, it should be the protagonist wants to achieve X, and if they don't, Y will happen, and their antagonist is trying to stop them, and you give adjectives to describe your characters rather than their names, because their names is a waste of a word, and you do a slightly more elaborate one, but it encapsulates what the protagonist wants, what the antagonist is trying to stop them for, and what will happen if they fail, that kind of template. This is a little bit different what I'm doing, because I suppose because it's a situation comedy, and because it's the first thing when you actually pitch the script that the person that you're pitching it to reads. They read this encapsulation of your script. And so I'm doing a very descriptive version which describes the characters, describes the situation, embellishes it in a way that kind of gives you the picture of the situation comedy, and it's a little bit more elaborate than the kind of succinct one. And I'll have to have a succinct version as well, because some competitions give you a word count restriction when you enter them, and you literally can't do any more than the words they give you. And then the second thing is to just go over the first 4 episodes that I talked about last week, where on the basis of our conversation, we have tweaked those 4 and just sort of said there's a bit too much of that, there's not enough of this, maybe we should change this a little bit. Yvonne's had ideas, I've had ideas, and we've kind of talked it through, and I've made some notes, and I've gone back and tweaked those first 4. We're happy with episode 5. The third thing for me to do is episode 6, 7 and 8. I need to give them the same kind of detailed arc of the story. At the moment it's a bit broad and a bit patchy, And then finally, because I've worked out the development plan for episodes 2 to 8, I've had to, I need to put some things into the episode that I've already scripted, which is episode 1. And I've still got that to do. That's the one thing I haven't done of the 4 things that I was given to do. And that needs to be done. I need to go back to the script and sort of feed in those elements so that it makes sense of what happens in the episodes later on. The reason that I want to talk about time management and guilt this week is because some of that work, the latter part of that work, I intended to do last week and I didn't manage it. And yes, there are good reasons for that. We were reopening the school after months of online in a socially distanced way with lots of different restrictions. It was very difficult, not only adapting to it, but supporting students in adapting to it as a pastoral leader. And so I did have a very busy time, but, you know, I have committed myself doing this, and therefore I should have done what I set out to do. At least that's what I told myself. But, you know, I do think it's important not to beat yourself up when you haven't done everything you had set out to do, especially if you're trying to manage writing with a full-time job, because sometimes it just isn't possible. And I know some amazing people who, you know, just write the most amazing amount and have incredible success, and they have full-time jobs. They work very, very hard, and it just, I mean, all of them. But I've had to. You can't turn back time. I can't go back and have last week again and do it differently. So I might as well just give myself a pat on the back for what I did achieve and make sure that I do what I need to do this week. And hopefully now I don't have a job anymore, it'll be a bit easier because I'll have a bit more time. Just on the issue of time management, though, I do think it is important to plan your time if you want to write, especially around a full-time job. I try to work in 50-minute bursts where I have my timer on, but I put my phone away from me so I'm not tempted to look at it. I switch my emails off, I switch all alerts off, and I work for 50-minute chunks. I think that works really well for me. And if I feel like I'm in the zone and I want to do more, I'll just get up and walk around when the alarm goes off and set it again and go back and do another 50 minutes. I break after 50 minutes and do a bit of stretching just to make sure that I'm not stuck in my chair for hours on end, because if I get in the zone, I will be. And I think if I just get up and stretch a bit, then the zone won't go away, but I won't be aching at the end of several hours of writing. But my message this week, I guess, is please don't beat yourself up, writers, if you haven't done everything you said you would do. Do try to manage your time. Use the 50-minute burst if that helps you to get blocks of writing done. And when I've been particularly trying to meet a deadline for writing and I've had lots of work on at work, I've tried to just do 50 minutes, either as soon as I come in from work or immediately after I've had my dinner, just to make sure I do something. Other people I know get up at 5 in the morning and do it. But, if you're struggling to make time to write, I would strongly recommend just trying that 50-minute thing. Even if you just do 1 50-minute a day, that adds up to a lot of hours of writing and you can get a lot done in that time. So on that note, I'm going to leave you this week and I'm going to get on with some writing and stop procrastinating making podcasts. So goodbye for now.